the ingredient you use the most in your kitchen might also be the one that you understand the least. That realization led Aishwarya Iyer to create Brightland olive oil. She grew up in Houston, Texas by way of India with immigrant expectations of what her future was supposed to look like. Doctor, lawyer, engineer, none of it fit. But New York cracked things wide open for her. At NYU, she built her own degree and cycled through internships in PR, media, and the beauty industry. By the time she moved to Los Angeles, she had lived several professional lives and then stumbled on the foundation of most of her meals, olive oil. Why did people know so little about it? And why was it treated like an afterthought when it's the base of so much? That curiosity became Brightland, a company that works with small California growers and mills within minutes of harvest to produce some of the highest quality extra virgin olive oil out of California. We talked about the realities of California farming, the role that art and design play in food, and the practices that helped her slow down, and learning to believe that enough really can be enough.
So many of us don't feel like we're enough, good enough, kind enough, smart enough, pretty enough, all the enoughs. And if you don't start by thinking you're enough, then what was the point of all of it?
This is Unplated with Antonio Diaz. Welcome to the pod.
I'm thrilled to be here.
No, I'm excited.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. We're going to talk about all sorts of things.
Yes, we are.
What are the components that came together that make up who Aishwarya is today?
It's funny you asked this because my team and I, just to timestamp this is like June, this is May, and my team and I just did a team retreat and we did a personality test, Enneagram, and I looked at my results and it was literally 50-50, like my mother and my father, and that's me. Like I was exactly split, and I was reading the characteristics and I'm like, oh my God, this is my mom. And then the other side, totally different personality, my dad, and I have both. But, you know, I think what makes me me is a little bit of the Texan. I grew up in Texas, first child, first daughter, first generation immigrant family. Very creative and artistically inspired. So classical Indian dance, classical Indian music. I've always been inspired by art and design, but I didn't know how to put a name on it. Mm-hmm. I love writing. I wrote a ton. I used to write poetry in school. But, you know, I think it also came with the other side of things, which is pressure, moments where you don't think you're enough. You know,
also like in growing up as a child?
Definitely. Oh yeah, definitely. Because I think there was a very limited view of what one could be when you grew up. And so for me, it was like, okay, what are the career options? You're a doctor, or you're a lawyer, or you're an engineer. What else is there? And so that's an extremely myopic view of the world. Yeah. And so I think growing up with that, I didn't fit into any of those boxes. And so I was like, this is not me. But if these are the cards that are out there for me, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with this. But I think, you know, I moved to New York for college and I went to NYU, and that blew the door open in terms of what could be possible. And I think that's why it's so important to understand what could be possible. We are capable of so many more things than I think what even our environment might tell us that we're capable of.
Where in Texas?
Houston. So a great food city.
Incredible food.
But I will say my parents, I think for me, the food piece of it has been just a foundational part of my DNA, but it comes from my parents as home cooks, not necessarily as restaurant goers. And so for me, it was rooted in talking about fresh ingredients, going to the grocery store almost every single day to get new ingredients, always cooking with a lot of intention, with a lot of purpose. And that's how I grew up. But the funny thing is, I think when we grow up in a particular way where something is so strongly sort of given to us or handed to us, sometimes we run away from it. So when I moved to New York, I kept the food piece, but I was like, okay, great. Well, now I'm going to go to every restaurant in the city.
Right.
And so instead of thinking about cooking, I was thinking about dining. And that became a huge part of my life and, you know, continuation of my, I think, like journey in food.
Yeah. So the cooking aspect came from
My
the household, to the parents.
Oh, yeah. And my grandparents and their parents before them. It was a huge part of our
And
life.
your parents are immigrants
Yes.
from
India. So they immigrated.
which part of India?
South India, Tamil Nadu, city called Chennai.
Okay.
They immigrated in 1986. I was 5 months old. So I was born in India, and then they immigrated here. And yeah, they came here under the premise of like education. My dad came here to do his PhD, and they weren't really sure if they would stay. They sort of said, hey, let's just take it one day at a time. And then lo and behold, it's been like 40 years.
Yeah.
And that's what can happen.
Do you see any connection to how you grew up or the environment that you grew up in impacts what you're doing today?
Absolutely. Some unconsciously and then some consciously. Like actually, when I was thinking about starting my company, Brightland, I thought a lot about what did the 5-year-old me like to do? And that was really helpful.
What were those things?
I loved putting on tea parties for my teddy bears. I loved bringing teddy bears together. You could say bringing people together, but for me, it was my dolls and my toys.
Yeah.
I loved really like charming, cute little experiences. And so it doesn't surprise me that we've built this like incredible gifting company that's rooted in like giving gifts and really a lot of beauty and a lot of joy. I loved talking about food. I would write little menus out. And so yeah, I think that if we tap into it, we can access some of that and then bring that in. And how special and lucky is that? And then I think unconsciously, yes, so many things are just underneath the surface, influencing how we interact with others in leadership roles, how we lead.
Yeah.
The type of, if we were a first child or a second child or third, what that relationship with siblings were like, how that influences work. It's inevitable.
Where are you in the hierarchy of your siblings?
I'm the first, and I have a younger sister.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm the youngest, so I'm the baby.
Oh, wow. Out of how many?
It's 3 of us.
Okay.
Yeah. So my sister is 4 years older.
So life is good and gravy for you.
I require lots of attention and love.
Yeah, exactly. And you get it.
Did you show signs of being an entrepreneur early on? Did you have like any sort of like entrepreneurial tendencies as a child?
I did, in that I didn't. I was not like trying to trade baseball cards or starting lemonade stands or like being very literal about I want to be an entrepreneur or I'm going to do entrepreneurial hobbies. But I carried many of the characteristics, which are I don't like being told what to do. I did not like school. You're like describing me right now. Yeah, like I knew there was more out there, but I couldn't name it or say it. Yeah. I actually ended up designing my own major in college. Like that's how much I didn't like.
Which was one?
So at NYU, there's a school called the Gallatin School of Individualized Study, and you curate and create your own concentration is what they call it. And so I created a concentration that was media and globalization with an emphasis on South Asian gender studies. But honestly, if that could have continued on and on and, I probably would have. And like, I don't even know, like put together a hodgepodge of all the things that I cared about and loved. Wait, global media studies? Media and globalization with an emphasis on South Asian gender studies. Break that down for me. Like what are the components? Yeah, so at the time, microfinance was really big. And so it was a lot of conversations around agency and empowerment of women, especially South Asian women, but then also talking about like the global diaspora of South Asian women. Yeah. How they grow up, how they think about things, what their lived experiences were. I took a lot of like micro and macroeconomics classes. I took a really interesting law class at the law school. And somehow was able to stitch it together. I still am like blown away that I could do that. Mm-hmm. But when I think about that now, I'm like, that's pretty entrepreneurial. I wasn't like, I'm going to do what is in the playbook. If anything, like this was what energized me. Right. But didn't walk out of there thinking, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur now. Yeah. So when you were in taking these classes in New York, what did you feel like your trajectory was going to be? Before there was ever Brightland, what did you see your career? I didn't know, to be totally honest. I admired people like Indra Nooyi, who was the CEO of Pepsi, but I couldn't tell you why I admired her. I just admired her.
Yeah.
I was, I interned and worked at L'Oreal in the corporate division. So a lot of like big corporate seemed like it would be a good avenue to pursue. But, something that I loved doing was actually tons of internships. I did an internship every semester that I was in New York in school. And so I accumulated like 8-9 internships, like the New York City Council, to a market research firm, to an anti-domestic violence center, to L'Oreal, to just a PR firm or a couple PR firms. And I just wanted to learn and dive in and actually do the work.
Yeah.
And I think that helped me realize I love work. I love doing rather than like studying about it. I actually want to do. But I left the rest up to, hey, let's just, like, the beauty is in the unfolding. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't have to be this like grand plan that I create for myself. I still feel that way.
Did that ever scare you?
Yeah, it didn't scare me. It made me, when I saw other people, peers, friends who had this like singular plan, as if any of us really have a plan, but like had this singular, what I call like maybe even vision for what they wanted, it just seemed so certain. And again, that word like safe and comfortable. And so I definitely was envious of that. But I don't know. I think this life is so colorful. There's so much to do.
Right.
So I felt I would see that and I would be envious, but it was more envious that they were able to operate that way. Less so, like I was like, I could never be that way. I'm going to have so many lives in this one life.
And how many more lives did you have in between New York to then founding your own company?
At least 4. Yeah, because I worked at L'Oreal and then I worked at a tech company called Second Market and I was doing public affairs. And then I worked at a venture capital firm on their marketing side of things. Then I worked at another tech company. And then a friend of mine and I started consulting and we had like 8-10 clients, like JP Morgan's Financial Center of Innovation. Like we had some really cool, interesting clients. And we did that for a couple years. And in the background, she was really passionate actually about podcast production. So she was starting to, think about that. I started percolating around Brightland and olive oil. And so I started just thinking about that. And then we both said, wait, we're really passionate about these other things. Why don't we slowly start to wind down with the clients and then we can pursue our own things? But yeah, I had multiple, you could call them like lives. And when I was thinking about starting an olive oil company of all the things, right? Like a food business, olive oil company, that was something that I thought about a lot. Like, how dare I do this? I've had this career. You just heard me talk about all these things. None of them was like restaurant or food influencer or a chef.
Right.
It was very different. And so it took me a lot of time to feel like I had permission to even start this. And it was like, no one was saying that to me. It's just the stories we tell ourselves.
What were the pivotal moments that led you to wanting to start an olive oil company?
One was starting to cook more. So came from a family of home cooks, ran away from it, ate at a ton of restaurants, and then started cooking myself as an adult and got really curious about ingredients. And I was like, wait, this is the one. I thought olive oil was so fascinating because it's this one foundation that you're using in everything. You may fry your eggs in it. You might top your avocado toast. So, okay, breakfast, done. Lunch, grain bowl, salads, done. Dinner, anything that you make, it's a base. And I was like, I can't believe that this is this base. And yet when I ask people, which olive oil are you using? Like people would tell me which cheeses to buy. People were like so passionate about what they were using. But at the time when I would ask them what olive oil, they were like, I have no idea. And so I was like, wait, I think there's something that might be here. And that was like, I think stage 1 of being intrigued. And then the second was actually going to grocery stores and watching people buy and seeing them be really confused and overwhelmed and not inspired. And I was like, wow, I think that was another moment.
Right.
Wow, I think there might be something here. And then the third was living in LA, I moved to LA. I started visiting wineries, going wine tasting, and then off the back of that would go olive oil tasting and meeting farmers here in California making exceptional quality, incredibly high integrity extra virgin olive oil, and them saying, I don't know if people care about California made, California produced. And I was like, all of that started coming together. And it wasn't this like aha moment. It was just many moments of, I think there might be something here. And I'd love to be the one that like tells this story and brings this to life.
What's interesting about that story is that you didn't inherently have a passion for olive oil.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't that you were growing up and you're like, I just really want to learn about olive oil. It kind of just appeared in front of you.
Yeah.
And you had which is the entrepreneurial tendency to be an observant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got curious. Exactly.
You got curious.
I got curious about this one thing. But I wouldn't say I was like hunting for business ideas or was so curious about a dozen different things. This happened to be the one that I felt really strongly about. And I did think about, I talked to a lot of people who would, take my call, who were entrepreneurs. And they were like, are you ready to dedicate 5 years, 8 years of your life to this? And I thought about it and I was like, yeah, I think so. I think I am.
Like, what are the initial steps that you had to take in order to R&D this industry, to learn about it? Because it's one thing designing and marketing a brand. It's a whole other beast to source, ship, the logistics behind.
Yeah. I know. I'm
something
glad
that's in the food business.
Totally.
And you're dealing with farmers.
Totally.
You're dealing with California standards.
Yeah.
And agriculture, which is like one of the most complicated industries there is.
Yes.
You decide to make this brand. What's next?
Yeah. What's next was learning about olive oil and learning about California olive oil. So the UC Davis actually has an olive center. So I took classes to learn about the sensory evaluation of olive oil, the chemical evaluation of olive oil. I learned that California olive oil has some of the highest standards for quality in the entire world. And so that just made me even more passionate about, okay, this is where I want to double down and invest in, like California olive oil. And I happened to meet some farmers and growers who were in that class. They were brushing up on their knowledge. And so that was really great because then I got to visit people and I started talking to folks. And many people didn't take my call. Some people also said, it was also like a Goldilocks thing. Some people were like, oh, we only make enough to sell to our friends and family or to one winery. We don't make enough. Other people were like, we're not going to take your call. Like, we're working with big private label brands. And so I had to just start talking to people, ask them, hey, how are you making it? Do you have a mill on site? The things that I learned from the class, like what I consider to be good quality indicators. And ultimately found an olive oil partner, our first partner, who I said, I think this could be a good place to begin.
I didn't know that California has the strictest standards.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? This is something that I feel like no one knows and everyone should be talking about. California olive oil, if it's coming from California and you're saying that it's 100% California made, like all of Brightland products, they have the strictest standards for quality in the entire world.
Which are, like, what are you looking for? So
like the free fatty acid count, polyphenol count, a lot of the chemical analysis that you do on olive oil to determine if it is of extra virgin grade. It's a little bit lower elsewhere, but in California, it's the highest.
What are the different types of olive oils that you would see on a shelf? Because there's olive oil, there's extra virgin olive oil, there's oil that are blends from different countries around the world.
It's so confusing.
Yes.
It's really confusing. So extra virgin olive oil is the highest quality. Within that, you want to look for single origin. So like 100% made in X country. If it's American made, California made, that's such an amazing bonus. But even if it's like 100% Italy or 100% Greece, that's cool.
Okay.
Gets a little tough is there are olive oils out there that are blended from other countries. That's not, it's just, it takes away from like the transparency of sourcing. It's a little tough, but there are folks that are doing that. And then beyond extra virgin olive oil, there's the next grade, which is olive oil. So it didn't meet all the extra virgin quality standards. It may not be as healthy for you either. And the taste may not be as rich and delicious. But people want to use it because it's cheaper to buy. And maybe you want to use it for certain types of cooking. But you're not going to get all the benefits, you know, whether it's the taste or the quality. And then below that is like a pure or a light olive oil. That means it's been bleached, deodorized, and refined. And so that's pretty gnarly. And then beyond that, you have like your seed oils or olive oil that's blended with a bunch of seed oils, which, you know, look, like seed oil is having a moment where people feel really strongly this way and this way about it. I think
A seed oil would be like
a grape seed, would be like a what else? Canola, sunflower.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm seeing a lot of like alternative oils. In the beginning, like when I was growing up, I would see olive oil and then canola oil and then vegetable oil.
Yeah.
But now there's avocado oil, peanut oil. There's all sorts of different oils. For someone who is learning this industry or at least shopping for it in the grocery store,
Yeah.
why would I choose extra virgin olive oil versus, say, an avocado oil? Or is it based on the use case, or are there more healthier benefits just using extra virgin olive oil?
Here's the thing about olive oil. Extra virgin, high quality extra virgin olive oil. It is incredibly beneficial on the anti-inflammatory front, high antioxidants. It's like a well-known several thousand year superfood. So you can't take that away from it. Like it's like the OG of, you know, like wellness and superfoods. So it kind of it has stood the test of time. I call it really a timeless ingredient.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when it's good for gut health. The FDA has done research or, you know, has said that it's great for Alzheimer's even. Like, you know, like just so many countless benefits.
Right. What about refined oils? What's the story behind refined oils?
Well, they're processed. So it depends on how they've been refined, but a lot of them have been refined using like hexane and other things. And so it just strips away a lot of the benefits.
And do you see refined olive oils?
I've started seeing refined olive oils. Yeah.
Okay.
Like people who are making like a frying olive oil, for example, that's very refined.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
Like a pumice oil, for example, where you're like taking the pumice, the leftover remnants of the olive oil of the first press, and you're kind of pressing it again. And then you have to refine it in order for it to, be sold.
And Brightland's process
Is first cold pressed.
I see.
Everything is made right here in California. We work with small growers. There's a mill on site. So everything is sent to the mill within 90 minutes of harvest. So just like, you know, I know that I founded it, so I might toot my own horn, but I truly, like product wise, it's just sitting a notch above a lot of other things.
Yeah, it's usually at the very top of the shelf too of all the olive oils. I've seen it.
Top shelf.
Yeah, top shelf. When you first tried the very first batch of Brightland oil, what was that like?
I would love to say like a romantic story, like it was so amazing. And maybe it was, but all I remember when you say that is when the first bottle of Brightland was given to me by our farm partner, they had, you know, put the oil in and everything. The oil itself was spectacular, but our labels at the time were like bunching up and were like crooked. It was such a mess. And we were launching like in 2 weeks, and the New York Times was going to write about us. And we knew that already. And so, I was not calm. Like it was crazy.
What were the challenges of getting it bottled and working with these farmers early on?
So many challenges. Yeah, you know, like we like to think that, hey, how challenging could this be? This is a bottle, it's a top. We had issues with the cork top, like sort of like coming off and like, you know, it would leave like a wine stopper kind of look and feel, which that wasn't the case. We didn't want that. We had issues with the labeling. We sold out too soon. I was packing a lot of the boxes myself in the like that early few months, and it was just all hands on deck and felt really chaotic and also amazing because then you're like, oh, I think I'm onto something. But yeah, it was really like the entrepreneur thing.
So this olive oil is being sourced from small farmers.
Yeah.
All along the
Central Coast and Valley of California.
Yeah. And what did you learn from these farmers? Like, who are these people?
I learned that they love their families. A lot of them are it's family businesses, husband and a wife. They're teams. Yeah. I didn't meet many people who are just solo kind of doing it on their own. It's people who have a lot of heart and spirit and people who really love the land.
Yeah.
And find gratitude in it. And they're doing this also thinking about like environmental stewardship. Like olive oil takes up a lot less water than a lot of other plants and crops. So if you go into the olive oil growing business, then you're saying automatically, like, I really care about water usage and I care about something that is drought resistant and it has a lot of fortitude and strength. So that was really cool to see.
What are like the sustainability practices when it comes to growing olives in California?
We're at the mercy of Mother Nature. It's so amazing because it's a product that is straight from the earth. You cannot make it in a lab, no matter how hard you try. Olive oil cannot be made in a lab. Although maybe somebody will do that one day, who knows? But as far as I know, it can't be. And so, yeah, we're at the mercy, but it's also so beautiful. Like no two batches and harvest years will ever be the same. That's really cool. It's like your own unique fingerprint. And even different lots within one harvest year could be different because if they're made from different types of trees, it's like wine, like the terroir and the land and the tree and the growing and the care, like the storage, all matters.
So when you taste this olive oil, what do you look for?
Well, in the early days, I looked for what I learned at the UC Davis Olive Center. Now we've grown enough where I have a director of sourcing. She has 15 years of experience in olive oil specifically. And so she really takes the lead on things like this now when we're tasting olive oils. And she has such a sophisticated palate. She can immediately tell, she judges olive oil competitions.
Oh, wow.
And so she can immediately tell defects. She can tell how it was stored based on tasting it. It's really neat. It's like wine.
Yeah. You've done like collaborations with artists, right?
Yeah, we have.
So what is the role of design played into this?
It's foundational to everything. Like I knew that art and design would play a big part. And I'm so thrilled and overjoyed that we followed through with that. And if anything, we're doubling down on it even more, even as the company, continues to grow. We're so deeply inspired by artists. So we think of Brightland as a canvas. And we've had artists come and design labels for us for different types of limited run products. We're going to be doing more of that. And for me, I was inspired for our hero products that don't have artist labels, I was so inspired by the farmer's market in California, like squash blossoms and purple cauliflower and just, the things that we see all the time, but we take for granted. And so I wanted some of that to be reflected on the label, like bright colors. And I think that's where my Indian heritage comes into play too. Not shying away from color and brightness. And to me, it signals like optimism and then ultimately like the golden light that this serves as for everything that we make.
Which is, I would imagine that's also the inspiration behind the name. Brightland.
It wasn't. The inspiration for the name was actually, I was in Tokyo and I still didn't have a name. And I was listening there was some music playing. And so I Shazammed something. And one of the songs was The Olive Tree. And I looked up the lyrics and it was, I'm searching for the olive tree and to the Brightland I go. And I just thought that was so poignant. And it just so happens that it couldn't be a better name. Even years later, I look at it and I'm like, actually, that is where I want to reside.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, we all want to be in the Brightland.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
What are the challenges that you face here in California specifically?
California has the strictest standards and the highest standards. It's also probably the most expensive place to produce olive oil. I could get great olive oil for much cheaper from other countries. But we've decided to invest in America and domestic. And so, labor costs are higher here. It's just more expensive to make things. But that's something that we're okay with. But that's a reality. And then, like we talked about, the unknowns of what's to come, climate, and our world at large. But that could be the same anywhere we are.
How do you stay motivated and hopeful with those unknowns? As a founder, you kind of have to have a bit of blind faith.
A bit.
A little
Everything.
bit.
Yeah.
And like wrestling with the curveballs and pivoting. And if something doesn't work, all right, pivot, move to something else.
Yeah.
Does that kind of describe like how you approach life or the attitude that you have towards life?
Exactly. I think once it was clarifying for me that this is the game of life as much as it is the game of business, then that cleared everything up. I felt free. That's life. Nothing is for certain. We pretend the illusion of control or certainty, but nothing is. We don't know what's going to happen. Truly. And so much is beyond our control. But what do? We put one foot in front of the other, and we have conviction, and we have belief and some kind of vision, and we keep marching forward. And same thing with Brightland. Same thing with any entrepreneur in the business that you're building. And I think it's not even about clinging on to the certainty. It's actually relinquishing it and saying, not holding too tight to it, and being okay with the change that's inevitably coming, or the shifts that'll inevitably come, and actually being resilient and being like free of it. I don't take things nothing is too heavy for me.
How so?
It's all a game anyway, all of it. And so if you think of it that way, then you free yourself of it.
Did you develop that muscle
Through my company.
through Brightland?
Not before. Definitely
Really?
not before, no. Before I wasn't thinking about it as much, but it was, just sort of the rudimentary, like going through life and the daily motions. And if anything, wanting certainty probably, not being able to even name it. But I think Brightland has completely like blown that apart. But I'm able to see so clearly my world and the world around us and our universe. And once you can see that it's all just moments of time and change, and we're like energetic beings, and even the cells and down to the atom, it's changing every millisecond. Then you're like, of course, who am I to think that I can like grasp and hang on to anything? And what I also say to my team is, we better be changing. If we're not changing, if we're not pivoting, if we're not evolving, then something's wrong. And I believe that as people too. Like if I were to meet somebody who I knew from my high school days, who I haven't talked to in 20 years or 15 years, family friend, childhood friend, whatever. And if I were to meet them now and they were still operating and had a mindset that reminded me, or I felt like we were back in 2007, I'd be like, what happened? What's going on? Like evolution is the only way.
What were the elements that led you down to be more or less liberated from that fear of the unknown?
It was a couple of years ago. It was a few years ago. It was roadblock after roadblock, or challenge after challenge. And at some point, I kept being like, I'm really tired of the challenge. I want it to be easier. I want it to be easier. And then it was like, I don't think it's going to get easier. So I have to look within. That's the only thing we can do. Why do I want it to be so easy? It was just asking the curiosity, like getting introspective and asking myself, what about it that was I like so desperate for wanting it to be easier? And what made me think that that was the path, the right path anyway, the easy path?
Yeah.
Like sometimes the hard path is actually, we know this, that's where like the unlocks and the big stuff, the good stuff, the juicy stuff happens. So I was like, but why am I so clinging on to wanting it to be easy and simple and no roadblocks? And so then when I started asking myself, I was actually like, oh, I think I need to tune into me, like go inward rather than going outward. And so I started really like doing practices that would make me be still. And so it was like meditation was the first thing I started doing. And it was just 2-minute meditations because I didn't have the capacity to be able to like do a 5-minute or a 10-minute, no way. And my mind would just be ping pong, to-do lists and what do I need to do? But then there'd be like 30 seconds of maybe like, I just hear the noise and I hear and then you're still. But in that stillness is where I found like space to be able to say, like to have the revelations. They don't just come through scrolling Instagram or through, dialogue with other people. They actually come from inside.
How did you find the moment to slow down and to find that stillness to look inward?
When it felt so bad that there was no other choice. Like every day, if you're repeating the same pattern every single day and the people around you, it's like being in a bad relationship, right? Your friends at some point are like, you need to dump him, or like, this is not working. And you find yourself being a robot, being like, oh my God, complaining. And for me, I was just saying the same thing over and over again. Oh my God, this is really hard. Roadblock after roadblock. Like, why is this so hard? And I was using the words hard and easy a lot. And I just saw myself just same language and not waking up super energized. I was like, what's the point? What are we doing here? And there was that feeling of what are we doing here? And then there was also this feeling of what is my purpose? What is this purpose? Why are we all here? And so then I started listening to Eckhart Tolle. I started reading Eckhart Tolle. I listened to Sadhguru, just spiritual leaders, agnostic spiritual leaders who talk about all we have is now, this moment, and tapping into presence. And if we can tap into presence, then everything else unfolds. And I was like, well, how do I tap into the present? And there's so many different ways to do it. For some people, it's like listening to some really beautiful music. For others, it could be going on that run and they tap into themselves and then unlocks happen. For some, it's breath work because you're manipulating your breath. That's like a few thousand years old, actually, to manipulate your breath so that then you're depriving your brain of a certain amount of oxygen and then things happen. And for many people, also thousands of years old, it's meditation. And for me, it was meditation and breath work. And listening to people like Eckhart Tolle that just remind you over and over again. Any question you ask, well, Eckhart, this is really hard right now. How do I navigate this? Eckhart, I don't know why I'm here. What do I do with myself? And so then you learn about your own ego, which is a big one, especially as a founder and an entrepreneur, because so much of what we tie ourselves to is like ego-based, the podcast and the press and the da-da-da-da. And so then it's like, who am I doing this all for? What is the point of this? But if anything, it actually like made me, it wasn't like a nihilistic, what's the point of all this? There's no point. I was able to transcend that and see that, oh no, it's actually like, you get to tell really beautiful stories and you get to like, be present with people. That's the point.
It's funny you say that because I live my life in a very similar fashion where what is the point of anything but from a positive perspective? And it allows you to focus on the now.
Yeah.
It allows you to focus on the now and focus on what is in front of you and in the moment. And that's what's important.
Yeah.
We're only a blip
We
and
are.
only here as guests for such a little bit of time.
It's like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not important.
Yeah. But how freeing is that?
Yeah.
That's freeing. And then also, like, when we think about what we are as human beings, we're beings, not doings. So then there's also like freedom in just you can be. I'm not saying just be and don't have a job or like, like there's also the realities of living in a capitalistic society and this
Sure.
modern world we live in, but not tying everything to outcome and to deliverable and to ego. That's a byproduct. But that's when we can at least shift the mind that way, then actually like really amazing things happen. And some of the like greatest, sort of leaders of our time and thinkers of our time, that is the way that they've found immense success, what we deem to be success.
Given this form of liberating yourself from the ego,
Yeah.
what's your purpose here?
It's so simple. It's really to make people happy, bring some joy and beauty, and be an enthusiast and maybe inspire other people to be an enthusiast of things. Like a cooking enthusiast. You don't need to be a chef. You can just be a cooking enthusiast. You can be a book enthusiast. You can be a wine enthusiast. So if I can inspire people to be enthusiastic and like find a little bit of awe in the everyday, then I think that's great. And then my purpose is to seek that out. Find more awe in like the rustling of the leaf, in like the beautiful flower, in that gorgeous pour of olive oil, in something well designed and well made.
That's beautiful.
That's it. Well, one thing I'll say after that too is learning to love yourself. I think, more, I would love to share that with people. Like, I think so many of us don't feel like we're enough, good enough, kind enough, smart enough, pretty enough, all the enoughs. But who's to say? And if you don't start by thinking you're enough, then what was the point of all of it? Like, we're enough. It was enough all along. And I listened to a podcast recently where the host talked to a hospice doctor and she asked him, what do people tell you when they're, in their last days, they're about to die? And he's like, they've all said, I wish I knew I was enough. So, yeah, that's something I think about a lot. Like, we're enough.
What would you say on your last day?
How lucky am I? I was so lucky and so fortunate, and how beautiful was all of this. Messy and horrible and all the things too, but ultimately like really beautiful. Yeah. The earth is really special. So that comes back to Brightland. How cool that I get to like have something and create something that is so tied to our earth. She's so precious and magical, what she is capable of and what she gives us. It's crazy. Like, our fingerprints are similar to the tree. Like, if you cut a tree and look at the circle in the tree, it's like similar to our fingerprints. Like, nature's beauty is everywhere, but we take it all for granted. Like, how crazy is it that there are purple cauliflowers or corn? Like, that's all coming from her, Earth. And so it is everything, every single bottle, like what's in here comes straight from her. That's so cool.
I can't think of a better way to end this conversation. Thank you so much for sitting down with me and also just imparting such hopeful and positivity about the world around us, and to just care about nature, care about the details of life itself. So thank you.
Thank you.